not guilty verdict has a lot of people pissed off right now. That was believed to be a slam dunk guilty case against Lisa Merkel, a police officer out of Pennsylvania. She had chased a 59-year-old man named David Kasich, and it was all caught on camera as she tased him repeatedly, and then she shot him with her service firearm. Well, after she did so, she had reported that the reason why she shot him is because she could not see his other hand. Well, the body cam shows something else. After the not guilty verdict, the district attorney, Ed Merced, released this footage, and it is now gaining national attention, and a lot of people are becoming very angry.
I am showing you. Get on the ground now! No! Show me your hands! Stop, David! Show me your hands!
Any square cars in the area of,
Show me your hands! I said show me your hands! Show me your hands! Get out of here!
14 located on the wall sound.
Daddy!
58-year-old Detroit resident Floyd Dent took the stand and testified against a police officer after quite a few officers in this case, and you'll see in the video, were seen punching, choking, kicking, and tasering Mr. Dent, and he was not even putting up a fight. He was pulled over. It was dark. The police officers started yanking him out of the car, took him down, and didn't even give him a chance to surrender fully before they started choking him and punching him. And you can see all that on video. This officer right here, Melendez, was fired subsequently after the case in April and faces up to 10 years in prison for misconduct, assault with intent to do great bodily harm, and strangulation. This story right here is going to involve a lot of my opinion, so please bear with me. Jim Pasco, executive director of the Fraternal Order of Police, has come out in an interview and threatened Quentin Tarantino with some kind of, economic threats. Well, that could be labeled terrorist threats, as a matter of fact. That's exactly how the police would bring charges against somebody for doing the exact same thing that he is claiming that the 330,000 full-time sworn police officers are going to do against any works by Quentin Tarantino. Now, the whole case with Quentin Tarantino is this. He's come out in protest and publicly went against cops who were getting away with murder. Now, he's went on to state in an LA Times article that not all cops are bad, only the ones who are murderers, who are getting away with murder. And I find it very interesting that the Fraternal Order of Police or any of these police officers will not stand up and state that the cops who are getting away with this wrongdoing should be dealt with. You want to deal with somebody in his right to free speech, but you won't stand up to the cops who are getting away with beating people like what you just saw in Detroit with Mr. Dent. Or how about Lisa Merkel killing somebody who had his hands perfectly in view where she was tasering him repeatedly, and you could hear it. None of these punk-ass bastards are going to step up and say anything about their very own kind committing crimes against the citizens. But what, Mr. Tarantino wants to exercise his free speech rights? Now we have to boycott him and state that we are going to economically ruin Quentin Tarantino for exercising his First Amendment rights. Well, as I remember it, when you took an oath to that badge and the Constitution, the number one Constitution is the right to free speech, and you have to protect that. So now you want to boycott them and ruin them economically. Well, that's why people out there in the fast food industry are refusing to serve you punks, because you're not going to stand up and do the right thing. And that is hold your own police officers accountable for their wrongdoing. If you're going to step up and talk about somebody, talk about your own so people aren't hating on your ass. That's what I got to say. Sorry. A charter bus headed from Michigan to Texas crashed shortly before 1 a.m. in Arkansas. It had just left Interstate 40 and hit an overpass pillar. Well, after it hit that pillar, it continued on for about another quarter mile, and in that crash, 6 people lost their lives and 6 people were rushed to the hospital. According to some preliminary reports, they are stating that fog may have contributed to this accident. Reports came out earlier today from Paris regarding the black box of the Russian plane that went down in Egypt. They are claiming that a sound of an explosion could be heard on the audio from that black box, but I have yet to see any reports linking some kind of audio for the public to hear to back up their claims that a sound of an explosion is indeed on the audio of that black box. Any further developments on this, I will be sure to share you, because I want to hear this audio for myself. Now, they go on to state that the sound of this explosion is not indicative of an explosion coming from an engine. How exactly they would be able to tell that, that is not clear, but we shall see how this develops. Here is the latest regarding the Russian plane that went down over Egypt. As you guys already know, shortly after the crash, it was the U.S. and British intelligence reports that were coming out stating that it was a possible bomb that took it down, and Britain actually halted flights going into Egypt. Well, now Russia and Vladimir Putin has come out and stated that he also will be suspending flights going into Egypt amid a possible cargo bomb theory. Yeah, and the mainstream media is eating this up and throwing out the U.S. and British intelligence reports and touting them for the kudos and the great work. Yeah, sure. What story would be complete without the manifesto? Yeah, well, a manifesto has materialized in the UC Merced alleged stabbing attack. Well, the document was not recovered immediately, but was found in the pocket on the body of Faisal Muhammad by the coroner as he was getting ready to perform an autopsy. Well, the sheriff has stated that the manifesto indicates he intended to kill a lot of people, and investigators had said night vision goggles, duct tape, and zip ties were found in his backpack at the crime scene. The document indicates or included several references to Allah, according to Sheriff Warnke. But he stressed that there was still nothing to indicate Muhammad's Muslim religion had anything to do with his motive. He compared the references made to Allah to a Christian making references to Jesus before carrying out a life-changing decision. Now, the sheriff also stated that Mr. Faisal Muhammad was intending on luring police officers into a classroom, attacking one of them, taking his firearm, and shooting multiple people. Some new information has been released about the Doctors Without Borders hospital bombing by U.S. military in Afghanistan. Christopher Stokes, General Director of Doctors Without Borders, has come out and stated that staff and patients were shot at and bombed as they were fleeing the hospital by U.S. circling gunships. Absolutely. And, well, you saw that the U.S. military went in there and attempted to destroy evidence of their wrongdoing, or something maybe just a little bit more sinister than that. It has been one crazy detail after another with the Officer Glenowitz case from Fox Lake, Illinois. You know, all of the whole suicide story didn't make a bit of sense. And now I want to share with you my opinion on some new information that doesn't make a bit of sense either. The BS meter is going off. So what they're saying is that Mr. Glenowitz, Officer Glenowitz's records have been released due to a Freedom of Information request. And in those documents, it's being stated, and by officials as well, that Mr. Glenowitz was under investigation not only for theft of money from a youth program, but that he may have wanted to hire a hitman to kill a village administrator that he feared would expose him as a thief. Now, it also goes on to state that he was under investigation for possibly seeking a meeting through a woman to meet a high-ranking gang member to put a hit on that village administrator. Here's the thing. If this information was already known, it was in these records, then how come Mr. Glenowitz was on duty and not put on some kind of suspension or administrative leave with or without pay pending the investigation? Because these are some pretty heavy allegations. We're talking about, murder for hire here. Also, I seriously doubt this story at all when you're talking about an officer seeking a meeting with a high-ranking gang member when already he works the beat out on the street. He would have more access to gang members that you would think. Well, they go on to state that authorities are now also investigating Officer Glenowitz's wife and son. That's what official said Thursday. So we'll have to see, because this story is definitely not over by a long shot. If you wanted proof that the whole questioning of Hillary Clinton regarding the Benghazi emails on her private server wasn't a farce and a dog and pony show, well, this will prove it to you. Well, a day after assuming office as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton signed a sensitive, compartmented information non-disclosure agreement that laid out criminal penalties for any unauthorized disclosure of that classified information. Now, the copy of this document that Hillary Clinton signed was obtained through open records by Competitive Enterprise Institute. In that document, it states thus: I have been advised that the unauthorized disclosure, unauthorized retention, that's exactly what she did. She retained unauthorized material for her own personal server. Or negligent handling. Negligent handling, again, is her keeping these emails on her own private server. Of SCI, which is sensitive compartmented information, by me could cause irreparable injury to the United States or be used to advantage by a foreign nation. Clinton received at least 2 emails while Secretary of State on her personal email server, and they were marked top secret SCI, sensitive compartmented information, according to the U.S. Intelligence Community's Inspector General. So, knowing all of this, and Trey Gowdy should have known what was in the details of the non-disclosure agreement with Hillary Clinton. Why would Trey Gowdy say that there was no way for him to win, knowing full well that she had breached the NDA contract under the unauthorized retention and negligent handling of that sensitive compartmented information? That's why I said it was all a farce, everyone. Scotland Yard is reporting that the Million Mask March demonstration turned real ugly and they suffered a night of violence. Protesters began hurling fireworks and other items at police and the horses that they rode on, and also burnt up a police car. 50 people were arrested out of all of this. 3 officers were hospitalized but have since been released, and 6 horses were hurt that evening. New Speaker of the House Paul Ryan has been made to look like the liar that he is. Well, about 6 months ago, he came out and stated that the way we wrote TPP, it deals strictly with trade and not immigration, Ryan told Newsmax, adding that the idea that TPP consists of immigration reform is the latest urban legend. However, experts who've been reviewing the newly released 5,544 pages of these documents state that in Chapter 12 of the TPP, titled Temporary Entry for Business Persons, the word immigration is mentioned nearly 10 times. Furthermore, both Chapter 12 and Chapter 10 in the TPP deal with immigration law, specifically foreign workers entering the United States. Rosemary Jenks, the Director of Government Relations for Numbers USA, reviewed both chapters and told Breitbart News that the TPP definitely impacts immigration in the United States. An open carry march is scheduled to take place in Ferguson, Missouri on November 16th, according to flyers that are being passed out by Sam Andrews. He is the former member of Oath Keepers and a pro-Second Amendment advocate. Just giving you guys the heads up on what's going on over there on November 16th. A passenger train collided with a heavy-duty truck just northeast of Nuremberg in Germany, killing 2 people and injured several others. Well, the significant part of this story is that the truck that collided with the train was actually carrying a U.S. military vehicle, and that vehicle caught fire following the crash. Here's a story that warrants reporting out of Arizona. A Saudi Arabia company named Alamari purchased 15 square miles, to create alfalfa for the cows that they have back home in Saudi Arabia. Well, this dairy company bought this farm last year and has planted thousands of acres of groundwater guzzling alfalfa to make that hay. What is even more disturbing about this story is that this land, this 15 square miles, has 15 water wells on it. And each one of these water wells can pump 1.5 billion gallons of water a year from the aquifer. And, well, I would be highly worried that they are going to suck all the water out of the Arizona ground from this aquifer. 2 daycare workers from the Children's Lighthouse Learning Center in Katy, Texas, and that's in Houston, have been fired, all because they refused to go along with calling a little girl a boy. Yes, that's right. You heard right. The 2 male parents of the 6-year-old little girl told employees at the school to refer to their daughter as a boy and to call her by a new masculine name. The little girl's hair had also been cut to look like a boy's. Now, the 2 daycare workers said that they would not go along with it because they would have to tell the other children that this was a boy when, well, it was a girl, and the other children knew this, and it would be too confusing. They didn't want to go along with that. They were fired subsequently for this refusal. An unbelievable story to report right here. A first grader at Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School in Cincinnati, Ohio, is now going to be serving a 3-day suspension, all for pretending to shoot another student with an imaginary, that's right, you heard it, an imaginary bow and arrow while playing Power Rangers at recess. Well, according to the principal, he sent a letter to the parents stating that he would not tolerate any kind of violence, whether it be real or imaginary. Very, very crazy. Republican Representative Lamar Smith out of Texas, he has been steadily going after the NOAA and their internal documents when it comes to the matter of climate change. He has been claiming and still claims that the NOAA, have altered their internal documents when it comes to the matter of climate change. Well, the NOAA has declined to release these documents to Mr. Lamar Smith, the Republican representative, claiming that they are confidential agency documents. Well, he is now issuing an unusual subpoena seeking those internal scientific research documents, and now we just have to see how this is all going to play out. Well, here's some good news for today. Arson is suspected at a Monsanto research center in Rennes, France. Officials state that they strongly suspect it was a crime, as no electrical or other sources were found to be the source of the fire. The fire was in fact ignited from 2 different points, and there was a heavy-duty smell lingering near the building of gasoline. And there was heavy damage to its reception hall and offices. According to the smoke blown up the ass rhetoric coming out of the Pentagon, the top Russian expert claims that Russia is ready to use nuclear weapons. He goes on to state that Russia is much more reckless with nuclear weapons than the old Soviet Union. Back then, the United States and the Soviet Union had a healthy respect for the horrific and destructive power of nuclear weapons and viewed them as a means of last resort. But he goes on to state that Putin's Russian military follows a paradoxical doctrine of escalate to de-escalate, which means Moscow would easily use nuclear weapons to bring a speedy peace. A mere thought about it is highly alarming, according to the Pentagon's top expert on Russia. You've lost more of your privacy rights, but hey, Silicon Valley businesses have won after U.S. regulators rejected an effort on Friday to force Google, Facebook, and other popular websites to honor a do not track request from users in a setback for digital privacy advocates. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission dismissed a petition that would have required internet giants to let consumers, like you and me, opt out of having their online activity tracked. Why is this a huge win for Silicon Valley businesses? Well, they rely on monetizing your personal data. And the FCC has come out and said it has been unequivocal in declaring that it has no intent to regulate edge providers or companies that provide content and services over the internet. Yeah, companies that provide content. Yeah, well, what does that mean for us? A powerful blast is reported to have rocked the Swedish capital of Stockholm. That's what eyewitnesses are telling local media. The area was cordoned off by police, and they suspect the explosion was caused by a gas leak. Yeah, okay. The blast, which was described by witnesses as very powerful, occurred on, oh, help me, Lord, Branker Cogatan Street. Yeah, what he said. At 11:40 a.m. local time. That's what the newspapers are there reporting. Kentucky Governor-elect Matt Bevin told Glenn Beck in a radio interview, well, he told the EPA to pound sand. That was a quote. Bevin's comments came after Beck had asked him, now that you're in, well, President Obama has said he's going to destroy the coal industry. And Kentucky happens to be a coal state, right? And what are you going to do specifically to push back on that? Well, this is all centered around President Barack Obama's partnership with the EPA to go after the coal mining in these states, granting the agency authority over what is traditionally a state responsibility. And Matt Bevin has told the EPA they can shove it up there. Well, you know the rest. Although I personally don't expect anything to come about this event that's going to take place Sunday, November 8th. However, I just want to remind everybody that it is, in fact, going to be taking place, and it is a law enforcement exercise at the Woodlands Mall in Texas, and is going to comprise of crisis actors playing victims dressed up in blood. Going to see some simunition rounds, soap and paint fired, different stuff like that. So if you guys are in the area, anybody there, and you guys can get a video camera rolling, well, let us see exactly what is going on there, if possible.